worshiping him when he don't even know what's next. I gotta pause right here. If you don't like God the way I like God, you ain't gonna scream the way I scream. You ain't gonna worship the way I worship. But if you bless God when you don't know what November gonna look like, when
This is the day the Lord has made. We rejoice and we are glad in it. The reality is, for all of us, sometimes all you need is a little push. If you go back to your days on the playground, if you sat in that swing, it would absolutely go nowhere until you got a push. Tonight, we are pushing our way to the most critical election in recent times. A runoff election that will, in fact, consistently shift the power in the Senate and, as a consequence, in this nation. I'm calling all pastors, all ministers, all deacons, elders, trustees, members, no matter what church you are in, I need you to tag them and I need you to get them involved and engaged in this conversation. The church cannot be caught sitting on the sidelines, but we have to be found right on the front line. And so tonight I want to equip you and give you a toolbox of what it is that your church needs to be doing, how it should be doing it, and how it is that we find ourselves engaging a whole nother generation to be a part. The rumors suggest that our community will not show up for a runoff and won't go to the polls in January. We're going to defy those odds and obliterate that thought pattern because I believe that we understand there is no time like the present. If we don't push, we're going to slide all the way back into a place that those who made the sacrifice won't understand why we took it for granted and took their pearls and gave it to swine. Tonight, I want to share with you who's going to be with us on today. Janine Abrams McLean, the Vice President of Fair Count Incorporated. She's going to be sharing with us. My surrogate mentor, Reverend Nelson B. Rivers III. He is over religious affairs for the National Action Network and founder of Black Church 75. Dr. Cynthia Hale, our neighbor down at Ray of Hope. Reverend James Woodall, the youngest state president of the NAACP in the country and the youngest in the history for the state of Georgia. Reverend Ron Saylor, Director, Southeast Region of the National Action Network. And our special guest is you. I want you to be a part of it. As a consequence, you'll see in the chat room, if you have any questions that you want to ask, I want you to type those in, as well as I want you to extend an invitation to the people who are in your church, the people who are in your ministry. Hear this, even the people who are in your auxiliary. Even if you're not the pastor, you are not the chairman of the deacon board, we're going to challenge you. Make sure every person, not even the whole choir, I'm challenging you to make sure all the altos are registered. Make sure all the ushers from the third Sunday are prepared and equipped. All those who are in hospitality, because of COVID, the kitchen committee ain't done nothing in 7 months. I need them to come together and give out pound cake at the polls. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody has to be a part. And I want you to make sure that you are not left outside of the conversation. Give a virtual hand clap and shout and cheer for all of our guests on today. I want to start with Janine Abrams McLean. What an amazing woman. With an amazing act of valor. She is one of the unsung heroes of this election cycle. Fair Count has moved nobly and stealthily to register some 800,000 voters just in the state of Georgia. I'm telling you, this woman beside me has mobilized the Million Man March by herself in one state. And, it's not on?
No, my mic is not on.
Come on, it's on.
Well,
yes.
I also want to make sure, so Fair Count,
yes.
that is actually Insay Ufot.
Okay.
From New Georgia Project, who has really worked to get those folks registered.
Awesome.
Fair Count, we are a nonprofit. We actually started working with on the census to make sure that communities were counted in the census, and then we use the census as a catalyst for continued civic engagement. So after the census, we pivoted over to GOTV.
Yes.
We worked in 50 counties outside of the metro Atlanta area.
Yes.
We worked with pastors. Some of our first partners in our work for the census and for voting were pastors and churches. And for the runoff, we're expanding that work. We're focusing still on those 50 counties outside of the metro Atlanta area, but we're expanding it to 149 counties. We are putting money, we are putting resources,
yes.
and we are putting people on the ground to make sure that everybody knows that their voices need to be heard in this upcoming election.
They show us, Janine, that they lose a quarter of the audience at the Super Bowl after the halftime show.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't return. That's where we are. After the show is over, we're going to have to get in the trenches and really make some hard tackles. I want you, I'm a new Georgian compared to everybody else on the stage. Tell us what is really at stake, because I don't know if people really understand the gravity of this hour.
Our democracy is at stake, and we're a nonprofit. We don't advocate for the election or the defeat of anyone, but we understand when my sister Stacey Abrams founded Fair Count, she understood that everyone's voice had to be heard.
Yes.
And so while we're on the other side of halftime, and there are folks that showed up and showed out, we still have folks that we can get engaged. And I think what people need to see, especially in the black church, and I'm the daughter of 2 pastors,
yes.
especially in the black church, what y'all need to understand is that now is the time. If you weren't a part of the wave that came through and made a difference or made a change, now's your time to stand up. Now's your time to reach out to your friends and your family who stayed at home the last time to come out and vote. Because what happened after my sister's election, I had an experience with one of my friends. We were out at a restaurant, and she said, well, I don't think I'm going to vote anymore because I voted and my vote didn't count.
Wow.
And what I want people to understand now is that you look at what is going on in Georgia. You look at why everybody's trying to get to Georgia, and you can't tell me that your vote doesn't count. And so I need all of the pastors, all of the lay leaders, all of the deacons, all of the mothers of the church, all of the young folk to come out today, or come out on, well, starting tomorrow,
yes.
Come out tomorrow, make a plan to vote, and make sure your vote is counted in this runoff election, because our democracy depends on your vote and your voice.
I'm appreciative. I want you to do me a favor, and we're just getting started. How do people get in touch with Fair Count?
You can go to faircount.org. That's our website. You can also follow us on Twitter at Faircount, on Facebook at Faircount Georgia, and Instagram at Faircount. So we're all over.
Yes, and there's some critical information you were sharing with me before we got on, especially around our young people, that they can vote if they're 17 or get registered. Mm-hmm. Tell me, to our young people, how do we direct them?
If you are if you will be 18 on or before January 5th, I'm gonna look at this camera because I don't know where to look.
Yes.
If you
follow the green light. Yes.
If you will be 18 by the runoff on January 5th, which is my son's birthday, by the way.
Wow.
If you are 18 by that date, you can register to vote now. You have until December 7th to register to vote. And so I need you to go out, all you 17-year-olds and everybody else who hasn't registered to vote. Now is the time to register. And if you didn't vote in the general election, you can still vote in the runoff. So we just need everybody who isn't registered to get registered today.
I'm appreciative for you. We've got an amazing cavalcade of stars with us in this work of really engagement in civic activity. One of the rising voices of our state. I just am amazed and inspired by his passion and by his light. Is Reverend James Woodall, the state president of the NAACP. And I really want you to just hitch your wagon to the horse you just left out the barn and about young people. One of the things that I've been saying in interviews is that beginning in May, people started asking, will the protesters go to the polls? And the thing that I love about your leadership is you have shown that you can do both. And I really want you to speak to a demographic, Reverend, that historically don't even go to church and is looking for the church to really become a part and to become engaged.
Most definitely, Dr. Bryant, and to all of our colleagues, good evening. My shirt pretty much sums up my entire response to that. Young people are out in the streets saying that we are tired of having to go through this over and over and over again and expecting a system that was literally designed to not work for us,
right,
for it to work for us. And so from Ahmaud Arbery to Breonna Taylor to George Floyd, we saw young people taking out to the streets in ways we haven't really seen before. Hundreds of days of consistent protest. And Dr. Rivers, he said this, and I'll give it to him credit 3 times, and then fourth I'm going to take it for myself. But he said, you know, protesting without policy is just a parade.
Yeah.
And I thought about that because after Ahmaud's death, we were pushing for the repeal of citizen's arrest. We said we can't afford to wait till November because the same people we need to show up might not make it. Wow. And so what we saw was, in the words of the psalm, it says we were just trying to breathe. Yeah. We weren't trying to elect the next president or, choose between parties. We were just trying to live. And till this day, we don't have to look outside of Georgia to see what's happening. We can go to Juliet, Georgia, in the water situation that they got. We got Savannah with, incarcerated folks down there trying to just transition back to community. And every single turn that we take, that we see there's a consistent investment in our destruction, our dehumanization.
Wow.
And so our policy changes are not compromises with white supremacy. What we're trying to do is create a new world, a new order that we can all live together.
I love it. I'm grateful for you. Dr. Hale, I really, let me thank you really as a symbol, because since 2008, black women have saved the world. And
Amen.
Really, you all have always been found guilty of doing what's right in the arena of democracy. I need you to help as a pastor and as a critical thinker and a public leader. I need you to say a word, not to the women. I need you to help get our brothers, corral our brothers, whip us into shape. Would you just say a word really to brothers around the state on how badly our sisters need y'all to just do right? Come on. And vote on January the 5th.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bryant. You're
Yes.
so right that all of us need to work together. God
Yes.
created us male and female.
Yes.
Amen. So we're supposed to work together. And I'm particularly concerned about pastors all over the state who have a heart for their people to come out. It's an act of love to vote and to help others vote. And so it's important for all of us to be involved. And yes, we do need the brothers by our side making this push, this major push right now. Let me say that during the last election, we heard a lot about Fulton and DeKalb County. And in the church, we always say there are no big I's and little U's. Okay, so some folks around the state may be thinking, well, let Fulton and DeKalb handle it. No, we need everybody, okay?
Yes.
We need folks from Albany. We need folks from Augusta and from Macon and Hesaba and Rockdale County and Griffin. We need everybody.
Yes.
All the brothers. We need clergy to preach and to teach and to have conversation to ensure. You're going to hear later about a program that you can use to find out how many people in your congregation are actually registered. We need folks registered. We need them motivated. We need you to take souls to the polls. We need to really get the count up, greater than it was
Yes.
on November the 3rd and before. And so, yes, brothers, I just want to tell you how much I love you and I need you. All right, come on with me.
Absolutely. We're grateful to have the Southeast Regional Director of the National Action Network organization, founded and still led by Reverend Al Sharpton. But locally right here is Reverend Ron Saylor. I want you, Reverend Saylor, to really say a word about rural engagement. As Reverend Hale just intonated, I feel a little bit comfortable with DeKalb and Fulton County. I'm not in cruise control, but that's where it is that I reside and clearly where it is that I pastor. But I think that one of the under-recognized areas is I'm from the DMV, outside the Beltway. So I really want you to talk about engagement in those areas and how it is that we can help.
It is the sort of operating philosophy of National Action Network that we have direct civic engagement that leads to policy change. And voter registration is a prime example of that. You can register to vote no matter where you are. So we are calling today expressly and specifically pastors in rural areas outside of the metro area to use Black Church 75, which you're going to hear about in just a couple of moments, to look inside of your congregation and see who is actually registered. And those persons that are not, your one job, sir, your one job, ma'am, is to get them registered prior to December the 7th, to rehearse and to repeat what Janine has already said to us. We have until December the 7th to get anybody who is not currently registered in the state of Georgia registered to vote. And if you are 17 and a half years old and will be 18 prior to the January 5th election, this is your time to get registered. The name of the game for us right now is to register people to vote. You see these prime pockets of blue all over the state of Georgia, which represent our metro areas, but there are blue voters all over the state, and we cannot leave them by the wayside thinking that the metro areas are going to carry it. Pastors, we're calling on you. Thank you, Pastor.
I spoke a couple of years ago at a panel at the Congressional Black Caucus in D.C., and my comrade, Reverend Woodall, Reverend Jeff Johnson, who followed me at the NAACP, and I'll never forget this day. He got up from the panel, put his mic on the table, and said, "I'm sick of doing these. All we do is talk about the problems." And he walked off the stage. He says, "I'm not doing it until we do a think tank that gives us solutions." And so I'm grateful none of my guests are going to be able to drop that mic. Number one, they're too expensive. Number two, I got security at every door. But none of them are going to drop the mic, and none of them are going to walk out because we're not just commiserating about the problem, but we're going to roll out for you a blueprint of a solution. And I'm so grateful to have the founder of an ingenious concept that I know firsthand works. And I want you to have that same access and that same tool in your disposal. Reverend Nelson B. Rivers, talk to us about Black Church 75.
Well, thank you, Brother Jamal, nephew Jamal. First, I want to commend you for not backing up when the house got bigger, that you didn't quit. You didn't morph into something we didn't know. So I told folk where I was coming. He's still Jamal. I said, he can't help himself. He gonna be Jamal. So, New Birth, we love the fact that you got our son, nephew in the movement doing this mighty work. I'm glad to be on this panel.
Thank you, sir.
These tremendous leaders. I've admired Dr. Hill from near and far, tremendous preacher. And Janine has been a gift. And we met over a year ago. We didn't know we'd end up doing all this stuff together. But let me get right to Black Church 75. First, Reverend Al Sharpton, who's the founder and president of the National Action Network, along with W. Franklin Richardson, who is the chairman of the board of both the National Action Network and the Conference of National Black Churches. And these two powerful organizations came together to help us launch this work that I developed back in 2012. Just in summary, we found out that some white evangelical churches and others created something back around 2009, 10, in response to Barack Obama being elected president, called Church 50. And what we found the plan was that they were going to do all they could to stop him from becoming a second-term president. They were dedicated to stopping him. And they called it Church 50. And when they explained it to me, I went online to make sure that I was not making it up. My church joined just so I could understand how you do it. And I looked at it and I said to the friends at the NAACP at the time where I was, I said, if they can do 50, we can do 75.
Wow.
And the idea was simply this. So Reverend Sharpton called and we were able to join NAN back in 2014. There's been a tremendous walk. You can see what happened at the march in Washington.
Yes.
That we stand at a watershed moment. And it was Reverend Sharpton's idea to make that happen. A lot of folks said not to do it. But now in the rearview mirror, a lot of folk who didn't want it to happen say they were glad that it did happen.
Yes.
So Black Church 75 is a simple concept. The premise is this. If we can get the black church, every one of them, to register 75% of their eligible members to vote, and then turn that 75% out, we'd win every election.
Wow.
There would be nothing that could stop us. I'm from South Carolina, lived in Fayette County, Georgia for 10 years when I was the regional director. I love Georgia. Dr. Howard W. Creasy Sr., Daddy Creasy as we call him, baptized me, licensed me, and ordained me. And being in Georgia is a lot like South Carolina, except you got Atlanta. Anybody got Atlanta got an advantage, trust me on that one. Black folk die and go to heaven through Atlanta.
Right.
So that's how much they love Atlanta. So, but this concept is simply this. You need to know who's registered in your church.
Yes.
As a pastor. My good friend Freddie Haynes, your student, Dr. Hill, he came to church years ago. He's done my revival every year, and he always reminds my folk, if they think I'm a little too radical, he says to them that pastors are not just supposed to be shepherds, who feed sheep. They're supposed to defend the sheep. So if all you do is feed them and never defend them against bears, lions, and racists, then what kind of pastor are you? You're not a full-time shepherd.
Wow.
And the Lord said to Jeremiah and to Isaiah, said to Jeremiah, shut them up. I'm tired of them. They speak my words, but I have not given those words to them, because until they take care of my sheep, they cannot be my shepherds.
Wow.
So the church now is called upon, the black church. They stole a page from our book, but it's our book. We can do our book better than someone who imitating us can do it. So we will let you find out who is registered in your church. You get back a report. My church has 860-something members. We found out the 660, only numbers I can give are mine.
Right.
665 of them were registered, 22 were not, 100 and something were inactive of that number. And we worked on the list, and we believed that our turnout was going to be in the neighborhood of 99%.
Wow.
We don't know who didn't vote. We know who did, and we'll know in a little while. But we ask you to load it up in the system. We walk you through it. We don't see your members. You have to give us permission to even see what you've done. Unless we get that, we just give you technical assistance. The important thing is, you know who you have in your church. The membership will come back, will tell you, these are the registered voters. These are the ones that we could not find, and these are the ones who are registered but not active. That means they did not vote in the last election. That's a powerful demographic, as you found out.
Yes.
When New Birth got your information back, the largest one of our churches to do it, we've had several large churches to do it, but they always have this wow, because now it not only tells you who is, but where they are. You know which precincts they're in, so you can actually organize a precinct. And that's all available through Black Church 75. The Conference of National Black Churches, through leadership of Dr. Richardson and Reverend Sharpton, got together and decided this would be an initiative of the Conference of National Black Churches. We've been doing this across the 8 largest black denominations since back in April. We've been organizing this. The impact was tremendous. We worked in 11 states. We're nonpartisan. We are not crazy, though. We're nonpartisan, we're not non-smart. we know what time it is. And don't y'all get it twisted. A lot of folk are excited about Democrats in Georgia. I'm from South Carolina, and you got the same kind of folk. These Democrats used to be, these Republicans, they used to be Democrats. Right. They ran from the party when y'all got in. Y'all came in the front door, they went right out the back door and went across the street to the place they couldn't stand. So don't let party label trick you. This is really about what is in the best interest of black folk.
Yes.
For the first time in recent time, black folk had a chance in communities like Georgia, where the vote was going to be split. The black vote made the difference. As James Brown said, and Reverend Sharpton made his joke the other day, he made the night train. We know James Brown was organizing the vote song when he talked about all the places they stopped: Miami, Florida, Baltimore, Maryland, Raleigh, North Carolina, and the list goes on, Milwaukee. And it turns out when all those votes came in that night, and a good point, Doctor, they made, had to help me with it. They kept saying, well, one person was catching up. And they reminded me, no, black folk had already voted. Those votes were in the bag. We were sitting home watching because we know what's about to happen. Right. Y'all can laugh if you want to, but when the Philadelphia bar come in, we know what's about to happen. When Clayton County come in and Fulton County come in and DeKalb County come in, y'all can talk all you want to. Then Gwinnett flipped. How'd this happen? Because folk woke up. So power is in knowledge. What do you know can help you, and what you don't know can be used against you.
Wow.
So we want folk to understand, and for the black church, I emphasize this. We spend so much time in the Old Testament without knowing what the Lord really said. And the Lord said to Moses, stop crying. Look at what you got in your hand. Use what you got to get liberation. The vote is our rod. It is our staff. Use it to get liberation. So what can you do? Move right to it. I watched with amazement. I'll be honest, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was depressed. I felt bad. I'm going to bed thinking, Lord, what are you doing? I thought, I heard you. And he said, well, go to sleep and wake up. And I woke up, things changed. But the reason they changed is not the mystery of the overnight success. What happened was early voting, early voting, early voting, early voting. They kept voting. I saw them on wheelchairs. I saw them in rollers. I saw them being carried. And I had one lady tell me, I'll stand here another 3 hours if I have to.
Wow.
Because she wanted to vote. That powerful expression has to be done again. January the 5th. This runoff is not about the party. It's not even about who sits in the White House. This is about the interest that we have as a community. John Lewis died asking us to go vote. the best way for us to make manifest his legacy is to vote January 5, because then the bill that will pass will be called the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill. The Voting Rights Act is in suspense.
Yes.
Because it's been attacked. John Lewis's bill will change that. George Floyd, a lot of folk got hyped, and they should have. I'm so glad what Reverend Woodall said. In my community, I partnered with Black Lives Matter. I partnered with United Front. They told me I had to get off the sideline. I said, I'm not trying to be in your way. They said, we need to be validated for our work by those who went before us. And so in validating, I explained what I said to him about a protest without a policy change or just a parade. They challenged me. Watch us. Watch us when it's voting time. And guess which demographic led everything?
Wow.
Young people, under 30, and first-time voters. That means our young people are listening. Don't play them cheap. Don't act like they're not paying attention. Also paying attention to pastors, to you, and to you, sister pastor, and you, brother pastor. Use the power you got. You are the ones the folk put in place to do right by them.
That's right.
What are you afraid of? What stops you? I don't understand it. It's a challenge to me when you will not talk politics. And I'm Baptist. I know y'all lie when y'all say y'all don't have politics in the church. You vote for the deacons, you vote for the usher, you vote for you vote for everything, and you know voter turnout too.
Yes.
Because I can be pastor 20 years and they start to get rid of me. Got folk ain't been to church in 20 years. Well, show up and go vote. Because so if you can act like that to get rid of somebody, won't you act like that to get somebody in that you want to have?
Yes.
So dial the number is 188. Give me my number again. 1833. They'll tell you to call that number. Call it now. We have folk on the phone waiting to talk to you from Georgia. They will tell you what to do. They'll simply ask you these three things: church you're calling from, how to get in touch with the pastor, how to get in touch with you, so we can equip you and empower you. 1-833-678-4448, 1-833-678-4448. And just end it with this, Doc. Organization is what produces change. Organization. No matter what it is, the most organized almost always win.
I love it.
And we are the ones, we showed the other day, the black community was organized. Can we do it again? The song said, let's do it again. When I woke up that morning, I had 3 Georgia songs on my mind. The first one was Rainy Night in Georgia, that's how they felt.
Yes.
The other one was Georgia on my mind, that's how we felt. And the other one is Midnight Train to Georgia, what we gonna do?
Yes.
That's what I wanna know, what we gonna do in Georgia?
Is coming. I want to thank you, Reverend Rivers. I'm appreciative. Let me ask, if I can, Reverend Woodall, if you have any closing words that you'd like to share.
I would just say that, like Dr. Rivers said, is we're going to do this thing again. This is not about permanent friends or enemies. We only got a permanent interest, and that's the liberation of all people. And we're going to work together. We're going to organize together. We're going to show up together, and ultimately, we're going to win together, because when we do it together, can nothing stop us or hold us down.
Thank you. Janine?
Well, thank you for having us here today.
Yes,
this has been a
it's
great
joy.
conversation. And I just want people to know that you can, Fair Count, we are in every county. We have organizers. We're hiring organizers, especially in Middle and South Georgia. So please apply for those jobs. We want to be able to give them to you so that you can get out there and make sure that people get their votes counted. And pastors, we have resources that we want to work with you. We want to do food drives, feed your communities while giving them information. We have PPE programs where we can give folks voter information and masks so that they can stay safe. We'll be doing toy drives, anything and everything to get information out to folks while delivering the goods that our communities need. And so please just go to faircount.org, hit me up at Janine@Faircount, and we'll get it done.
Thank you. Reverend Saylor?
Want to thank New Birth and thank you, Dr. Bryant. The National Action Network on Tuesday, November 24th, is going to be registering voters in our Southwest Atlanta office on People Street and giving away 500 Thanksgiving boxes at the same time. So you can come get your free Thanksgiving box and register to vote. Thank you, New Birth, for your sponsorship. Yep. Thank you, Dr. Bryant, for your leadership.
Dr. Hale?
Thank you, Dr. Bryant. And I just simply want to say that it is so important that every one of us goes to the poll. We've done it once, we can do it again. Let's make it happen for Georgia and for the nation. The world is looking at Georgia. And so I want to make sure that Georgia shows out on January the 5th and before. Thank you.
I'm grateful that you all have locked in with us on today. I want to bear witness and testimony of Black Church 75 New Birth. When we partnered with Black Church 75, we put in that program and discovered that only 73% of our membership was registered to vote. We implemented this program, Janine, and we went from 73% to 89%. And I've got to underscore, this is free. We are not selling y'all's email addresses. No, you are not going to get a JCP catalog 2 weeks later because of this, but we were able to strengthen our community. I want our pastors and our church leaders, our denominational leaders, to please make sure that you partner with us. Today, I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, but today is Founders Day of Omega Psi Phi, and so I want to challenge to make sure all of the sons of blood and thunder will please make sure you register and vote. We know you can bark, but can you vote? We want all the dogs in the polls on January the 5th. So this is a challenge to all the Omegas. Reverend Saylor happens to be an Omega. The right year, just the wrong color. Great man of God. Listen, a couple of dates that I wanted to share with you. November 5th. You could begin requesting absentee ballots. Reverend Woodall just shared with me before we got on the air that absentee ballots go out tomorrow. Is that correct? And then December 7th is the deadline for voter registration. December 14th, give yourself the gift of democracy. It is early voting, December 14th. Before you all go to the mall, to the flea market, or anywhere else, I need you on December 14th to please make sure that you vote. It ends on December 31st. It ends on December 31st. And then J5, January 5th, is Election Day. Now, why is that important? You'll notice on this day is Omega Psi Phi Founders Day, but Election Day is Kappa Alpha Psi Founders Day. It shows you this. I done pulled it in full circle for you on what is the significance. So on January 5th is Election Day. It is my prayer, if I can echo the sentiment of Reverend Rivers, that you would have already voted, but I want you to have enough time. One last time, if you'll put the number on the screen for Black Church 75, I want you to get that information. Stay tuned in and plugged in. New Birth, you already know, we got 1 hour before Bible study. I want to meet you right here, but I need you in this interim to tag somebody, tell somebody, and here's what I want you to do. Yes, blackchurch75.com. I want you to please do this. I want you to send this to the church you used to go to. I want you to send this to the church you grew up in. Go send this to the church that you left. I need you to please get them in order and have that kind of Christ-like compassion. We love you, and we can't wait to see you at the polls.